Are you dealing with things that you pulled from the back room that nobody really goes into? You can straighten it up quickly if you need to have guests in there, but most of the time, it's just a junk room. And because you don't think about what's in there until somebody Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries with Tanya E. Hood. Today, I'm going to share a past lesson that I gave to a group of individuals. Let's listen. I got married at 21. After 11 years of marriage, I found myself going through divorce, having to raise 2 sons by myself. Did not want to be in that environment because when I walked through that, being married at 21, I thought that we would grow together, but it's not what happened. And so to find myself 11 years later, single with kids, having to date again, knowing that in my heart, I'm a wife, how do you navigate those hurdles? So I had to start learning a few things on my own. So I'm going to share with you a few of the strategies, a couple of the actionable steps, and hopefully they resonate with you, work for you. And if not, one of the things I'm pretty good at, because I'm also a certified organizational assessment coach, I can pull together a strategy that's unique to you based off of the insight that I know. So we'll get there together. You're not by yourself. I want you to know that you can get through this journey and we can do it together. So one of the first few things that I had to walk through when I found myself bound, if you can't say no to an emotion, a person, an environment, a place, then you're bound to it. So how do we get unstuck from some of the things that hold us hostage? You have to first acknowledge where you are. We know that we don't want to keep revisiting the hurt and the pain, but you got to be clear about what hurt and what pain, because after my divorce, I was dealing with, like I was sharing earlier, compound emotions. I was dealing with the hurt from my divorce because the betrayal, I was like, we shouldn't have walked through this type of betrayal together. The other thing that I was walking through was that he tip-tapped over past hurts from other individuals, hurts about how I looked, hurts about how I feel, hurts that brought up insecurities and made me less confident. So my low self-esteem kicked in on top of everything else. When you are walking in the middle of a pain like that and compounding elements, it can break you. And it's difficult to figure out which ones that you're dealing with. So I don't want you to deal with all the emotions at one time, but you do need to identify all of what you're dealing with. So if you think of yourself as a house that needs to be protected, because a house is a place that we call home. Where you live is often your sanctuary. And for some of us, the chaos and the trauma that we've gone through ruined the physical sanctuary. So I want to take you into your inner sanctuary to rebuild it and get new hope. So go through the different rooms of your house. And depending on what you're doing or how your house is designed, it may be different levels. Some of us have an upstairs, a downstairs, a basement, whatever that is. Envision what it is. And then you walk your way through cleaning it up. When we are doing house cleaning, we like to have the whole house cleaned at one time, but we still got to do it one room at a time. I want you to do it one room at a time. But I need you to have the blueprint of your house in your mind so that you're aware of the areas of the house. And then as you go through cleaning it up, you'll get the opportunity to start walking through. I shared that the emotional warfare that my ex-husband put me through dredged up some extra crap. Some of that crap was in the basement of my soul. But because he was the one picking at the emotions, I went downstairs and picked up that past pain, and I brought it into the living room. And then when he saw it in the living room, now it's on display. And so it seems like he knew what that issue was in my soul, and he started grabbing at it. And then what he did next continued to make other issues. See, there was something else that was deep in the recesses, but it was upstairs in the back room. You know, the back room some of us have, where you can have visitors there, but you don't often have a lot of people visit. So you sort of make it like a little bit of a junk room. So I had stuff in the junk room of my heart, and I brought that downstairs because he tip-tapped on top of that. So now I got stuff from the basement, stuff from the back room, sitting in the living room, and regular day-to-day, everyday stuff in the kitchen, the dining room, and the regular rooms of the house. That is something I had to start defining. One of the things that I created is called the 3 C's, because you need to first be clear about what it is you're dealing with. Are you dealing with the stuff that's in the living room now? Are you dealing with stuff that you brought up from the basement? Are you dealing with things that you pulled from the back room that nobody really goes into? You can straighten it up quickly if you need to have guests in there, but most of the time, it's just a junk room. And because you don't think about what's in there until somebody tip-taps on that emotional warfare, that trigger is what you've got to learn to walk through. If you have difficulties navigating those emotional warfare moments, then you are bound. You can't fix what you do not know. You got to get clarity about what you are dealing with. The next thing I want to walk you through is how you need to close off some things. Sometimes you need closure because some things you can't move into the next area until you close off some past areas. It's like having a door. The door opens, but some doors you need to have a key code to open, and you've got to close that door before you go into a new door. So you need to know what you have to close off to get to your next direction. I had to close off some of those hurts, and I closed them off by addressing them, because it was the 8-year-old in me that was still hurt by the pain that she felt from the people in her family. And then she went outside her house only to experience the exact same thing. So what I decided what nobody would do again is make me feel bad about the color of my skin. So I had to appreciate Tanya. So I told Tanya, I love you. And as I told Tanya, I love you, I initially looked in the mirror to tell me that I loved my skin. But as I looked in the mirror to tell me that I loved my skin, I realized that where was somewhere back in my past, somebody talked about my eyes, somebody talked about my nose, somebody talked about my mouth. So I had to go through and do a discussion with me. It took me 3 years to stop crying, looking in the mirror to tell me, I love my eyes, I love my nose, I love my lips, I love my skin. When you love you more than anybody else, what they say on the other end will no longer be a problem. And that leads us to the next one, where it's connection. Once you close off something, you can connect with a greater element, because now on this end, Tanya connects with my inner self, my inner love, because there are still people that talk about me. People are going to talk about you to the day you're gone. It doesn't matter. But if you love you from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, you will be empowered. And then that left me into the space where confidence started sitting in. Because when you are confident about who you are at the core of your being, you will not allow yourself to be in a position like I did. When you use the 3 C's, now that you all understand the elements of the house, because those blended emotions can get stuck in a room. When you write down the topic, just write down the topic on a sheet of paper that you're just going to walk through as your list, as your blueprint in your house. As you write down that topic, the first topic for me, dealing with my hair. The next topic for me was dealing with my color. So I wrote down those things, but on a separate sheet of paper that I was talking to you about earlier, I wrote out the hurt that I felt when I was younger about somebody making me feel different about my skin color. So I wrote out that hurt. I wrote out that pain, and I had bought a grill already. So some of you may have seen this discussion point on some of the things I've shared. I bought a grill, get a cheap grill. On that grill, I burnt those letters, because there's some things that you will write that nobody needs to see. It just needs to be between you and God. So you write it out because you got to get it out. And then you use that freedom to start helping you. And so for today, if you don't remember anything else I've shared, here's what I need you to remember. When you're going through certain emotions, some of the warfares that you walk through in your soul, you have to. I was definitely in the middle of the 3 C's. There comes a time when you will have to decide if you need clarification, connection, or closure about a person to determine how to move forward in the relationship. Some relationships need connecting. Some relationships need clarifying. You will need to take the time to determine what the relationship should be in order for it to be beneficial for both of you. I took the time to write down some things that I think will support you The free chapter is available for you in the link below. You have to wash, rinse, and repeat. It does not mean you did not do the work the first time. You did put in the work to get clean. You did put in the work to get whole. But you may need to go back over because some stains are a little bit harder to get out, which means you just got to go back through the process one more time. So I did the work of telling Tanya I loved her. I did the work of appreciating me a lot more, but there was still more work that I had to do because those combined emotions that were overlapping started being unraveled. I got a little bit better, but it was still just a little bit more. Because here's the thing, you won't often go through the first healing the first time around because all of you may not be ready for all the healing that's necessary. You may have to wait until you get to level 2 of your journey to get a different level of healing in that past thing. Because if it was deep, deep, deep in your soul, someone stated earlier, some of the pieces of their childhood was being dredged up. That's a long time. So that's a deep dredge. So you just got to work through clearing it out. And if you want someone to join you on the journey, feel free to go to my website, tanyaehood.com. There you can click on the Work With Me tab and see the various ways that we can work with one another. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood, walking in my purpose, and I want you to do the same.